First story. I banned my stepson from going out and demanded that he cook dinner for everyone. And he burned my food. So I ordered a takeout and punished my stepson. Excluded him from my vacation. Gave his car to my son. And held his stuff hostage, demanding that he pay for the burned groceries and takeout. Now I'm regretting my actions. My wife and I have 3 kids in our house, my daughter Sophie 4F, her son Miles 12M, and her older son Caleb 16M, who splits time between our house and her ex-husband's. My wife and I both came from messy, chaotic households, and we agreed early on that our kids wouldn't be babied into helplessness. That includes chores, accountability, and mutual respect. A few years ago, we started having Miles and Caleb cook one dinner each per week. They choose the recipe in advance, give us a list for groceries if needed, and are told which day is theirs. It's consistent, they know the expectations, and we help if they genuinely struggle. My wife does most of the daily cooking otherwise. It's a fair setup. Caleb has never liked this system. Not because it's too much work, he just doesn't think he should have to do anything when he's here. He's told us, "I don't have to do this at Dad's, more times than I can count." That's probably true. His dad treats him like a guest at a hotel, from what I've seen. No chores, no limits, no expectations. He gets to rot in his room and come and go as he pleases. Now, I've got no problem with co-parenting setups being different. But Caleb's been living part-time under our roof for 6 years. He knows the rules. You don't get to be a freeloader in one house and a functioning family member in the other. My stepson is not a child anymore. He's a 16-year-old young man with a license, a phone, a part-time job, and the social life to match. He's smart, capable, and manipulative when he wants to be. He knows how to play his parents against each other. The trouble this time started when Caleb's cooking day landed on Saturday. My wife reminded him on Friday when he got here after school. She told him the ingredients were in the fridge and pantry, and the counter was cleared. He nodded, said okay, and went upstairs. Standard. Later that night, Miles came into the living room looking confused and asked if he was supposed to cook instead. I asked why. He said Caleb told him he was going out with friends Saturday evening and wouldn't be around. That was the first we heard of it. My wife texted Caleb and asked what his plans were. He said he was thinking about going out, but would figure it out. When she reminded him it was his night to cook, he ghosted the thread. Not even a thumbs up. That pissed me off more than the plans. He wasn't even going to tell us. He just tried to hand the job off to Miles like we wouldn't notice, like we were idiots. We called him downstairs and laid it out. You agreed to the rules. You don't get to dodge responsibilities and dump them on your younger brother because it's inconvenient. You're cooking before you go out, or you don't go. Caleb acted like we were ruining his life. It's one time. I've had a SHTTY week. You care more about stupid food than me, blah blah. He's had these outbursts before. Anytime he's told no, he plays the victim. Last month, it was because we wouldn't let him spend the night at a co-ed party with no parents. The month before that, it was because we asked him to help clean out the garage, and he claimed we were using him for labor. This is a pattern. We didn't budge. I told him he was cooking dinner, period. My wife, who usually tries to soften things, backed me this time. He eventually muttered, "Fine," and stomped into the kitchen. We thought that was the end of it. But when the timer went off, the whole kitchen smelled like burnt plastic. Caleb had set the oven too high, dumped everything in together, ignored instructions, and walked away. The food was scorched beyond recognition. Not salvageable, not edible, not even close. He stood there with a smug look and said, "I guess I messed it up. My bad." Then he grabbed his jacket and walked out. Didn't wait for permission, didn't answer when we called after him. Just left. I wasn't surprised that he burned the food. He wanted to prove a point. He thought that if he ruined it, we would feel bad, call off the chore, or let it slide. We threw the entire thing in the trash, ordered takeout, and told Caleb over text that he would be paying for both the groceries and the takeout cost. No response. He spent the night at his dad's and hasn't stepped foot in our house since. The next morning, my wife got a long message from her ex-Caleb's dad saying we were punishing Caleb for being a teenager and using money as a weapon. He said Caleb had been overwhelmed at school lately, and we should have just let him have the night off. He also accused us of encouraging betrayal by rewarding Miles for snitching. Let's be clear, Miles didn't snitch. Caleb told him directly that he wasn't cooking, which meant someone else had to. Miles came to us because he was confused, not malicious. I'm not going to punish a 12-year-old for being honest. And I'm sure as hell not going to teach him to stay quiet when something's wrong just to protect his brother's ego. Also, Caleb wasn't overwhelmed. That's the excuse his dad uses anytime Caleb doesn't want to do something. I've seen overwhelmed. I've seen kids burnt out, overworked, and emotionally checked out. Caleb's not that. He's social, active, constantly online, and constantly out. He has time and energy for what he wants. It's only when we ask something of him that he suddenly becomes too fragile to handle anything. His dad demanded that we drop the payment thing and let Caleb come back as usual this weekend. We said no. He can come back when he pays back the cost of the food he destroyed. Simple. It's not about the money, it's about accountability. We told him he could pay cash, Venmo, or whatever. We even said he didn't have to pay it all at once. But he had to acknowledge what he did. Instead, Caleb texted my wife on Thursday. I'm coming Friday to get my stuff. Tell OP to stay out of my way. She asked him to be respectful. He read the message and didn't reply. I told her I wasn't going to let him waltz in here like nothing happened. He doesn't get to burn food, walk out, hide behind his dad, disrespect the house, and then show up on his terms. I said he can collect his stuff once he pays us back. Until then, he doesn't set foot in the house. My wife is now stuck in the middle. She agrees he was out of line, and she's not happy with him either, but she hates confrontation. She thinks we might be making things worse by holding the line too hard, especially since Caleb's dad is stirring the pot and telling Caleb that we're trying to control him. She wants him to learn responsibility, but is afraid we'll push him further away. I told her that's not how this works. We don't cave just because it's uncomfortable. If Caleb were 10, maybe. But he's 16. He's already forming the habits he'll carry into adulthood. If we back down now, we teach him that burning dinner and storming out gets him off the hook. Miles has been watching all of this. And frankly, I care more about what this teaches Miles than I care about Caleb's attitude. If we let Caleb slide, what message does that send to the kid who did the right thing? Keep your mouth shut, don't upset your brother, and you won't get called a snitch. No, I want Miles to know that being honest and responsible matters, even if it's inconvenient. Now, Caleb's stuff is still here. Clothes, a charger, some school stuff, etc. He hasn't tried to come get it again, but he's texting my wife saying we're being petty and that we're choosing food over him. I told her if he's old enough to destroy something and call it a mistake with attitude, he's old enough to be held accountable. He knows exactly what he's doing. Her ex is still pushing. He keeps sending texts accusing us of bullying Caleb and treating him like a criminal. I asked him straight, would you have been okay with Caleb burning your dinner, walking out, and expecting to come back like nothing happened? He didn't answer that question. He just kept repeating that Caleb was stressed. The man lets his son live like a roommate and calls it parenting. He wants to be the cool dad, no boundaries, no discipline, just validation. That's fine in his house. But here, we have standards. If Caleb wants to be here, he follows them. That includes paying back what he intentionally ruined. My wife is exhausted by the whole thing, but even she agrees we can't give in. Caleb doesn't show remorse, doesn't try to fix things, and thinks he can play us against each other. If we fold now, that behavior locks in even deeper. He's testing boundaries, either we hold them, or we lose all credibility with both boys. So now it's just a standoff. Caleb's refusing to apologize or pay. His dad's calling us controlling. We're holding firm. He wants to come back. He pays what he owes. Period. Ada? Comments. Comment 1. Light, but firm NTA. You're dealing with more than just a disrespectful teen. You're dealing with two entirely different parenting philosophies clashing under one roof. That's the real tension here. Caleb is caught in a weird limbo. He's got structure and expectations at your place, and a no-consequences lifestyle at his dad's. So naturally, he resents the stricter home. That's not surprising. What is concerning is that he's escalating from passive resistance to outright sabotage. That shows he's not just rejecting the rules, he's trying to undermine your authority in front of the whole house. The fact that his dad sees chores as punishment is really telling. I guarantee you this guy never made Caleb take responsibility for anything, because he sees that as mean or unfair. So now, when he's 16 and needs to actually contribute, it feels oppressive. That's a failure of long-term parenting. You're cleaning up someone else's mess. Also, I think you're right to be thinking about Miles here. If you let Caleb get away with this, you lose all credibility with the kid who did act responsibly. That dynamic can cause serious sibling resentment if not handled carefully. That said, I would recommend one thing. Give Caleb a path back in that doesn't just rely on money. Maybe he cooks a proper dinner, replaces the groceries, and writes an apology to the family. Something that makes him face it, not just pay it off and forget it. Otherwise, it risks becoming transactional instead of transformational. But your core instincts are right. You're doing the hard part of parenting, and it's uncomfortable as hell but necessary. Comment 2. YTA. Not for the rules, but for how inflexible and punitive your approach is. The kid didn't just skip chores, he acted out because he felt cornered. Was it the right way to handle it? No. But your response doubled down on the control rather than digging into the cause. You say this isn't about the money, but your language screams otherwise. He pays, or he doesn't come back. That's not an effort to teach responsibility, that's blackmail. A mature parenting response would have been, that wasn't acceptable. Here's how you make it right. Instead, you shut the door. And your dismissal of his dad's input is short-sighted. Is the guy inconsistent? Maybe. But when he says Caleb is overwhelmed at school, maybe pause and consider that just once. This might have been a cry for a break. Teens hide stress in defiance. They say, I'm fine, and then do self-sabotaging things like, exactly what he did. You made this about obedience and order. He made it about rebellion and power. Now both sides are stuck in a lose-lose. And the one adult in this situation, the one who could have chosen de-escalation, is you. Parenting isn't about holding the line no matter what. It's about knowing which lines matter and which are hurting the relationship more than they help. Update. A lot of people asked if I'd had any follow-up since Caleb burnt dinner and stormed out. Yeah, I decided if he wants to act like a grown man with no rules, he can deal with grown man consequences. First thing I did, I packed every piece of Caleb's crap into trash bags and left them neatly not thrown. I'm not messy or petty, I'm organized on the front porch. Hoodie, shoes, notebooks, toothbrush, deodorant, headphones, all of it. I didn't want that energy in my house anymore. I texted him. Your belongings are outside. You can come pick them up. You are not allowed inside. Then, I changed the lock code that night. I didn't even tell my wife until the next morning. She freaked out and said it was extreme. I told her, respect is earned in this house, and right now, he hasn't earned entry. Next, we had a spring vacation planned in 2 months. Cabin, hiking, family time. Caleb was part of that plan. Past tense. I called the rental company and reduced the reservation size. Removed his name. I told my wife, he's not on vacation with us until he proves he can function as family. She cried and said this is going to push him further away. I said, if he walks away over being held accountable, he was never with us anyway. Then I took Miles out to dinner, just me and him. Steakhouse. I wanted him to see exactly how being reliable pays off. I talked to him about how he handled things correctly by telling us what Caleb tried to dump on him. I told him he is the son who understands duty. He looked a little uncomfortable, but he nodded and said, okay. He was quiet, but I took that as him processing and respecting the seriousness of responsibility. I also sat him down and told him that the car Caleb was likely going to get at 18 is now reserved for him when he turns 16. I told him it's because I give rewards to the son who acts like a man, not a sabotaging child. He nodded again and didn't say much. But he didn't argue, and that tells me he understands. Sophie asked where Caleb's stuff went. I told her, he's staying with his dad until he learns the rules again. She said, okay. Kids adjust when adults stay firm. A few days later, Caleb finally texted. All it said was, that was low. Then later, I'll come get my things Friday. I replied, they were outside. You didn't show. They're now in the garage and will be released after payment. He said, you can't hold my stuff hostage. I replied, I absolutely can when the stuff was left in my home under my roof. My roof, my rules, my release terms. On Monday, I drafted a Venmo request to Caleb. Yes, he has an account from his part-time job. The full cost of groceries plus the takeout plus 5% interest. Listed officially as damages due to willful destruction. I haven't hit send yet, but I'm planning to do it at the end of the week. If he declines it, I'll resend it weekly. I want a paper trail of refusal to acknowledge consequences. My wife said this is turning financial, and I'm keeping scores. I told her damn right I am. Because this is a scoreboard situation now. Either respect wins or disrespect does. She said, he's still my son. I told her, he's your son, but he's not acting like mine. If you want to go to your ex's house and play peacemaker between him and a kid who thinks rules are optional, go. When you're ready to parent with me, this door is open. She didn't go. She stayed. She's quieter lately, but still here. That tells me deep down she knows I'm right, even if she doesn't want to admit it yet. Caleb messaged again yesterday. Stop acting like I'm banned from my own home. Mum says she wants me back. I answered, you are not banned permanently. You are on consequences. There's a difference. You may return under the following conditions. You repay the money owed in full, can be in installments. You issue a direct apology in person, acknowledging you intentionally sabotaged dinner. You agree that when assigned chores, you do them with no refusal and no passing responsibility to others. You do not argue the rules. If you disagree, you talk respectfully, but you do not say no. You accept that trust has to be earned back. He replied, I'm not bowing to you. I responded, then you have made your choice. My wife said maybe we should at least let him get his stuff. I told her it stays in the garage bagged until he accepts the rules and agrees to return as someone who wants to be part of a functional home. If he wants to keep living under his dad's system, go for it. That's their choice. I'm running this house with order. Miles asked if Caleb was coming back. I said, only if he decides to grow up. He looked uneasy, but again, no defiance, no argument. He took the answer and went to do homework. That's how a responsible kid responds. Sophie hasn't asked again. At this point, I don't feel bad. I feel like I'm laying the foundation for 2 boys and 1 little girl to understand that being part of a home isn't free. You contribute, you respect, or you live somewhere else that accepts laziness. Caleb can apologize and return, or he can stay gone. But if he returns, it will be under the understanding that this is not a negotiation. I will not be questioned on every rule, and I will not tolerate sabotage disguised as teenage angst. When he's ready to stand like a man, he can walk through the door again. Until then, the code remains changed. The vacation seat is gone. The Venmo is coming. And the car is promised to the son who understands what responsibility looks like. I'm not raising a rebel. I'm training a future adult. Comments. Comment 1. You're not totally wrong. You're just so busy being right that you've completely lost the room. Let's be honest. Caleb screwed up. He ditched a chore, got called out, then doubled down with petty revenge. That's a DCK move, 100%. If you'd made him redo the meal, revoked privileges, or talked through the expectations like an adult, fine. That's parenting. But what you're doing now isn't parenting. It's empire building. You're layering consequences so thick and fast that no one can breathe. Locked doors, evicted belongings, car stripped away, vacation canceled, and a effing Venmo invoice with interest. Bro, what are you hoping this builds? A family? Or compliance? You keep saying structure and respect. But here's a hint. The moment respect has to be forced, it's no longer respect. It's fear. Your wife's silence isn't agreement, it's retreat. Your younger son's quietness isn't pride, it's anxiety. And here's the big one. You say Caleb can come back if he apologizes and agrees to never say no again. That's not family. That's a cult. If your goal was to alienate a teenager for life, congrats. You're winning. But if your goal is to raise a functional, respectful man who owns his mistakes, you're losing hard. Comment 2. YTA. And not just for how you handled this situation, but for the way you're performing fatherhood like it's a powerlifting competition. You're not building structure, you're building a stage to flex on a kid who didn't bow fast enough. Everything in your post screams insecurity dressed up as discipline. The Venmo invoice, the porch drop-off, the vacation cancellation, none of those were necessary to teach a lesson. They were for you. To feel in control. You keep saying, respect is earned, but demand it like it's a birthright. That's not respect. That's domination. You think forcing obedience builds men. All you're doing is showing these boys that love is conditional, and that authority exists to punish, not guide. Caleb isn't just going to resent you. He's going to fear attachment, equate love with compliance, and either overcompensate by becoming a doormat or reject connection altogether. You're not raising a man. You're breaking one down. And the scariest part, you're proud of it. That's why YTA. Not because you enforced rules, but because you've mistaken fear for leadership and silence for victory. Comment 3. YTA. And I say that as someone who understands what it's like raising teens with split homes. The kid crossed a line, sure. But what are you doing? You're nuking the relationship over a fire that could have been put out with water. You think you're teaching a lesson. What you're doing is setting fire to every bridge he might have used to walk back. You changed the lock, cut him out of vacation, promised away his car, and are bragging about your wife going silent like it's a win. Man, that's not parenting, that's burning ground so nothing can grow. You say this is about order, but everything screams emotional retaliation. And while you're making your house a place of rules, it's becoming a place no one wants to return to. You won't feel the fallout now. But wait 2 years. Caleb won't come back. Miles will either rebel or shrink into himself. And your wife, if she sticks around, will never trust you with conflict again. You'll be sitting in your respectful home alone, wondering why nobody calls. Because you taught them love had a cost, and they couldn't afford it. That's why YTA. You're not wrong to want respect. But you're absolutely destroying the only paths back to it. Update. A lot has happened since my last update. I'm writing this in an empty house, and I honestly don't even know if I'm looking for advice or trying to prove I'm not who everyone thinks I am. I didn't expect it to get this far. People accused me of being controlling, and I said they were exaggerating. But now my wife left with all 3 kids and is staying with her parents. She's not talking to me except through short texts about practical things. Miles won't answer my messages. Caleb blocked me. Even Sophie cried and didn't want to say goodbye when they left. It all blew up after a series of things I did that I thought were still about parenting and order. I included earlier that I took Miles out for dinner and told him he'd get the car Caleb was supposed to get. That already caused quiet tension in the house. Things escalated when I tried to establish better structure for Sophie, who is only 4. I started giving her early chores like folding washers and cleaning her toys by timed rules. My wife said it was militarizing a preschooler. I said I was just preventing another Caleb situation. Then Miles started acting distant and nervous, avoiding me unless spoken to. He didn't argue, just gave short yes-no answers. I thought he was being influenced by Caleb, so I asked him if Caleb had texted him anything about me. He said no. I didn't believe him at first. I then had him write a reflection letter on why obedience is important. I told him to include how he plans not to fall into defiance like Caleb. He wrote a short paragraph that said, "I don't know what to say. I'm trying to do what you tell me." I said it wasn't detailed enough and made him rewrite it. My wife saw the second letter, realized I made him do it, and said I was turning Miles into a scared robot. I thought Caleb still had no accountability, so I contacted his part-time job supervisor just to make them aware of his irresponsible behavior and pattern of quitting obligations. I said it was necessary so they wouldn't be blindsided if he failed them too. The supervisor told Caleb. Caleb texted me, "You're a psycho. Stay out of my life." My wife found out and lost it. The final explosion happened 3 nights ago. My wife confronted me, crying, saying I was damaging Miles mentally and traumatizing Sophie and turning our home into a dictatorship. She finally admitted she and her ex-husband were already planning to split the cost of a used car for Caleb when he turned 17. She said my random announcement that the SUV would go to Miles didn't matter because Caleb wasn't even getting that car. I didn't even know the real plan. I argued that she should still pay 50% of the car for Miles, since I'd decided he'd earned it. She said, "I never agreed to any of this. You made decisions and expected us all to fall in line." I tried to say I was building responsible adults, but she said I was destroying them. She said Miles was so anxious, now he'd been clenching his jaw at night, and complained to her quietly that he was scared of making a mistake around me. She said Sophie had started asking if she'd get locked out like Caleb if she didn't put her toys away fast enough. Then she told me, "You didn't just punish Caleb. You removed him from this home physically, emotionally, and symbolically. You packed him in trash bags like he's disposable. You made obedience more important than family." I panicked and raised my voice, telling her she was siding with disobedience. She yelled back, "I'm siding with our children being allowed to be human." She said she and the kids were going to stay at her parents' until this house stops being a punishment camp. I said if she walked out without trying to seriously discuss terms for Caleb's return and proper house rules, she'd be making herself the enemy of order. She just said, "Then I guess I'm your enemy now." She packed quickly. Miles avoided me and just held Sophie's hand. Sophie was crying, saying she didn't want Daddy's mad. Miles looked at me one last time, but didn't say anything. Caleb showed up in the driveway with her father. He didn't come inside. He didn't talk to me. He grabbed his bags from the garage, didn't apologize, and didn't say a word. When he saw the look on Miles' face, he pulled him into the car with them after helping them pack. My wife didn't stop him. Now I'm alone in the house. I called my wife the next morning. She didn't pick up. She texted, "We're safe at my parents'." I tried messaging Caleb, telling him he still needs to apologize properly before this is resolved. He responded, "I'd rather never see you again." I Venmo requested him as planned. He declined it with a middle finger emoji. I thought I was doing all of this out of love and tough guidance. I thought I was building strong character. Now I'm sitting in a silent house wondering if everyone exaggerated or if I actually went too far. I was trying to enforce respect. But now my wife won't even call me. Miles won't respond. And Sophie probably thinks I'm the monster who takes homes away. I'm not saying I'm fully wrong. I still believe children need structure and consequences. But I don't know if I escalated too far trying to make that point. I thought fear would turn into respect over time. Now I'm afraid respect turned into fear permanently. Is this still salvageable? Or did I lose them all for real? Comments. Comment 1. I don't think you understand how people develop moral reasoning. What you've done is the equivalent of putting up a wall and expecting people to walk through it, just because you said so. And now you're shocked they walked away instead of crashing into it head first. Your entire parenting style reads like a lab experiment in compliance under stress. You introduced escalating consequences, monitored reactions, pushed thresholds, and the moment someone resisted, you removed the variable. Your stepson didn't comply, so you erased him from the environment. Then your wife pushed back, and you treated her like a variable that wasn't cooperating. And now the subjects are gone, and you're still logging results, looking for what data point failed. Here's the answer. People don't respond well to being treated like variables. Your kids aren't a case study. Your wife isn't a protocol enforcer. You ran a simulation and forgot it was a family. Comment 2. I raised 2 daughters. One followed the path I laid out. The other fought like hell to carve her own. I butted heads with the second one a lot. And I won't lie, I didn't always handle it gracefully. But I never turned my home into a courtroom where love had prerequisites. That's what this sounds like. What you call parenting decisions came across more like ultimatums stacked on top of silence. You made everything a transaction. Obedience gets prizes, disobedience gets exile. Eventually, they stopped trying to earn your approval, not because they didn't care, but because the price kept going up. Your wife left because you gave her no space to be a partner. Your sons left because you gave them no space to be people. Even your toddler cried when she saw the door closed. That's not a coincidence. You're alone now. If you still think this was about right versus wrong, you've missed the point. It was about the fact that no one felt safe enough to stay. Second story. My friend slapped her boyfriend and got slapped back, but told everyone he was abusive to ruin his life. So I kept the record straight. Then she unleashed her boyfriend's cat and lost it, and attacked him again to play the victim and get him arrested. But she got herself arrested, and is now blaming me for everything. Okay, I know it sounds bad. But before saying I'm a horrible person, listen to my explanation. So pretty much my friend told me she and her BF were arguing about getting their cat. They got their cat cheaper cat food instead of name brand because they're going through a rough patch. Her BF wanted to get the cat name brand because the cat wasn't eating and was getting skinny. This cat is a house cat. And my friend said they couldn't afford to keep buying cheaper cat food. And maybe if they let the cat out, the cat would get food from other people or kill mice. Her BF laughed at that because their cat hates the sound of cars and can't handle being outside. My friend was pissed and slapped him. And he slapped her back just as hard. Anyways, my friend came to me crying about it. And I tried to be supportive and all, and let her crash with me and cool off. She asked me if I thought he was abusive. And I danced around it because, TBH, while I don't think him slapping her back was right or even mature, it's 2025, and using, but I'm a girl and he's a boy, as an excuse is a little juvenile to me. But the next day, when her mom called and asked why she didn't show up to brunch or breakfast or whatever she was supposed to be doing with her mom that day, her BF was supposed to be there too. She said she was at my place and started saying her BF slapped her over cat food. I don't know if it was my lack of reaction, but she started leaving out the part where she slapped her BF first whenever she told the story. At first I was like, whatever, let friend's name be friend's name. She always exaggerates. And then she started spreading the story to our friend group and her cousins, and even told my much younger sister, who's like 10, about it. At that point, I was getting worried for her BF, because while he may have been petty for slapping her back, stuff like this could ruin his life. I told her that her spreading this story could harm his reputation or career in the future if it gets too widespread. I also told her while it was immature of him to slap her back, and while he was wrong to touch her, she did touch him first, and therefore has a role in it. She called me a sexist pas. I'm a girl myself and a feminist. I told her point blank that if she slapped me, and I slapped her back, then it wouldn't sound half as bad as her boyfriend slapping her back after she slapped him. I said this entire situation was stupid and exist, and it's 2025, so she needs to get off her high horse and stop telling people this inane story. I'm worried I was too harsh now, and we're not talking, but I also want her to stop telling that story before her boyfriend's reputation life is ruined. I know him, and while he is very impulsive, he is not a violent or bad person, just immature. Our friend group noticed a rift, and one of them asked to speak to me later on tomorrow, or the day after, about why she and I stopped talking. I don't want to gossip because I'm not into that, but I'm also not a liar. What do I do about tomorrow and this situation and all? Comments. Comment 1. NTA. He wouldn't have slapped her if she hadn't slapped him first. Neither was okay, but she's making him out to be the instigator. And it makes me wonder in what other ways she's a manipulative turd. Comment 2. Sunlight is the best disinfectant. If people ask, tell the truth as you know it. Be prepared for her to kick off about it. Abusers often like to control the narrative. Him hitting her was not okay. But neither was her hitting him. She brought that energy to the situation, not him. It's not magically different because she's a grown woman. Her lying to people about what happened is not okay. If she were telling people that she threw hands first, that'd be different. But she's leaving that part out to make herself look like the victim in all of this. Comment 3. You would definitely be an arsey hole to the boyfriend, and the truth if you didn't tell the truth. Eventually everyone will learn that your best friend is abusive, because if she gets away with this, then she will continue her toxic behavior. Also, her next boyfriend may report her for the abuse, or, even worse, may actually hurt her. As you said, it's 2025, and women can be arrested for domestic violence just as much as men. She is being allowed to play victim when she is 100% the problem. Update. I posted this like 2 months ago and saw it, and decided you guys needed an update. First of all, I told another friend what happened when I met up with her, and she told the rest of our friend group. A lot of people said he shouldn't have slapped her no matter what, even if she slapped him first, because she was a girl, and it's unacceptable for men to touch girls. 3 people out of the 7 did side with me, though, and said that she was going to ruin his life. My friend, the one spreading the rumors, began to stop for the most part. But a lot of their mutual friends had already heard her version of the story, and she wasn't exactly eager to correct herself. Luckily, nothing really got back to her BF harmfully other than losing some friends and getting chewed out, which really sucks, but it could have been much worse. Some time passed, and I didn't talk to that friend that much, but she was still part of my friend group. She later asked me if we were cool and said, "As cool as the surface of the sun," sarcastically. She went home and cried to her mother about what a terrible person I am. Her mom lectured me about blaming the victim, and then I asked if her mother knew what really happened, and she said no, so I told her. Her mom was pissed because her old boyfriend abused her when she was a young adult, and it hit close to home for her. My friend got kicked out of her mom's house and is now crashing at our mutual friends. Let's call her Emma. Emma and my friend went to her BF's apartment to pick up some of her stuff while he was out. They took the cat. I don't know who the cat actually belongs to, as she joined our friend group when living with her BF and the cat already. To prove the point she'd made all along, she let the cat out on Emma's balcony to live there most of the time or set the cat outside. It was September when she did this, and it hadn't started snowing yet, but it wasn't exactly summer weather. Emma kept taking the cat inside, but the friend kept putting the cat outside. The poor cat eventually ran away, and my friend couldn't find her. Her BF later called her, asking for the cat back, and the friend told him to come to Emma's to collect it. He came and asked where the cat was. I don't have too many of the details. This part of the story is being relayed from Emma, and she said it was outside somewhere. They argued. So her BF has a tendency to talk with his hands, and when he was flailing his hands around, he accidentally brushed his hand against her arm. According to Emma, it was an accident, and he apologized right after, and then kept talking, but my friend wasn't having it. She called him an abusive soab and went on to bang her fists against his chest, punch him and slap him while Emma tried to push her away. She clawed at his chest and screamed at him. She told him he was an inbred idiot and looked like Elmo and Shane from Smosh had a baby, and that he was destined for hell. Her BF luckily wasn't getting too hurt, other than some scratches in the face as she clawed him with her nails. He pulled out his phone and threatened to call 911, so she stopped. Emma yelled at my friend, who started crying as her BF left. Eventually, my friend calmed down, drank a bunch of vodka, and went to go take a shower. That's when the police came. Apparently, Her BF had decided to call the police after all, a while after he left. My friend got arrested, apparently drunk. After getting processed, she confessed being intoxicated and used her one phone call to call me and chew me out. She got a court date, and it's in a week or two. The cat hasn't been found. TBH, I think it's dead. Everyone else is trying to stay hopeful, but it was a house cat that's been missing for, like, a month, so my well of hope is dry. Maybe someone took it in, though, I don't know. I also think her BF mentioned the conditions in which she placed the cat to the cops, but I'm not sure. I have no idea what she'll get charged with or what might be going on. If you guys have any questions, I might be able to clarify. Update. So I posted this, then I posted an update, and then this is the third update. Okay, so the cat may have been found. Someone who lives about 20 minutes away from us in the same city, but in the outskirts found a cat that matched a flyer he saw when coming into our part of town. A few days ago, I texted my ex-friend's ex-BF to tell him he should update me on the cat situation, and he texted me when he got the info. He's going to drive out tonight to see if it's his cat, and I'll post an edit tomorrow, not an update if the cat is his cat. It's really weird how far away the cat wandered, though, but I've never had a cat. Maybe I'm wrong, and I wonder if at this point the cat was just running away from my ex-friend and just didn't want to come back. I think everyone who knows her has thought about running away at some point, TBH. Also, in this past week, I've been talking with my ex-friend's ex-BF a lot and helping him wander around looking for the cat. I also showed him this post. He called me jokingly a weirdo for posting on Reddit and said he didn't flag me as a Redditor. But reading through the comments, he said he should have broken up with her months ago and regrets dating her, moving in with her right after graduation, etc. He also admitted she's had violent behavior in the past, but it's mostly been a bit of pushing and shoving or throwing things like blankets or books that couldn't really hurt someone. He clearly has never owned a copy of War and Peace. I mentioned to Emma, who is still friends with my ex-friend, she's part of our friend group still. But really Emma and another girl are the only ones who actually talked to her ever since she posted bail and got out until the court date. I hung out with the ex-friend's ex-BF. My ex-friend called me and was pissed. She threatened to come beat me up, jokes on her. You're on house arrest. But I think she was just pissed. I think she thinks we're dating, lol, we're not. She called her ex a short little dwarf. A Sesame Street puppet who looks like Elmo and Shane had a baby again. The Elmo and Shane thing was an inside joke that she weaponized later. And called me Godzilla and said I was so tall, and he was so short I'd have to lift him up to kiss him. I just hung up. Anyways, I'm waiting for her ex-BF to call me and tell me if he found the cat. Crossing fingers. P.S. To the person who called me vile in the comments, thank you so much for that. I'm not being sarcastic. That genuinely made me and my ex-friend's ex-BF laugh until my stomach hurt. I don't know why, but there's just something about being called the word vile that's funnier than any other insult. From now on, if anyone ever insults me, I hope they call me vile. I'm giggling just thinking about it. Thank you for watching the video. If you are interested in listening to these kinds of stories, we've got more in store for you. Simply subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, and share it with your friends.